so much, concerned about what you call as innovation. So let me put it straight. So what is innovation? Now, put it in a very normal way. When something which we do is completely unique compared to what others are doing it, that's exactly how we see the innovation called innovation, see the phenomenon called innovation. So what is the meaning of it? Okay, so let me take you 300-400 years back. Okay, when Newton was first able to discover gravity, or in the sense, when Bill Gates first of all came out with what you called as Microsoft, or Google, when Sergey Brin came out with Google, all these things are a trigger of an idea which was not there before. Okay, so one thing is for sure, to understand incubation innovation, one thing is for sure, that innovation is always starting with what is missing. Okay, so with that premise, what is the meaning of it all is to have a good idea. Okay, to have a good idea, to innovate, you have to innovate, you need to have good idea. To have a good idea, you need to understand what the problem is. So what exactly the problem is all about. So if you look at the whole phenomenon of business, if you look at it, the most of the startups who became very successful are not the startup who are high tech, or in the sense who have more technology into picture. But the reason why startups generally got successful is because they address what you called as a problem. So if you want to understand innovation or incubation, you need to first understand the whole phenomenon of innovation and successful innovation and incubation. It start with the concept of what you call as problem. Because if the problem is not diagnosed right, there is absolutely no point of going for innovation or startup or incubation or any of the business model you can think of. Okay. I mean, let me put it straight. If so, you have seen Shark Tank, right? In Shark Tank, people try to convince the investors that why their business model is good for investment. But imagine if I go to them and say that I have discovered a medicine on cancer and it's completely been tested and approved. Do you think people will not invest in? They will invest in me. I don't need to show a business model for them. The reason is I'm addressing a real globally accepted problem. So the first foremost phase of innovation, for that matter, is problem. Diagnose the right problem. If you diagnose the problem right, the solution, or we can say the innovation part of it, will automatically fall in place. So what exactly it means? What exactly it means? It means that if you look at most of startups, now let me take the case of Bill Gates for that matter. Bill Gates was able to create Microsoft. It's not because he had an idea that he will create Windows. No, it's not. He was able to see a problem that most of the programs at that time, before Microsoft came in, were not user friendly, in the sense that you have to type immense amount of code to make sure you execute a certain amount of actions. That is exactly how the whole programming system used to work in the 1960s. And because of which a layman was never able to work in a computer system. Bill Gates saw that as a problem. To address that problem, he created Windows in which you have to execute only commands. And that's the reason all that codes which are required before were only stored inside the command. So you have to just execute the command and the rest will be done. And that's how graphics came in, the mouse came in, and everything happened, and so on and so forth. But ultimately, why Bill Gates was able to do very well is because he understood and diagnosed what you call as a problem. That's exactly the more important point is that are we really understanding what is the problem? Because if you're not focusing on the problem, whatever innovation or invention you're going to make, they all are going to be in vain. You will never have a successful startup. You will never have a successful startup. Imagine the case of for example, Byju's, if you look at it, or majority of the edtech companies, if you look at it, they diagnosed a problem that, giving access to children digitally, okay, because, COVID was there. That problem when became real, these companies were able to make money like anything because the reason is every consumer wanted digital content. But as soon as the COVID literally have gone in 2001, 2021, 22, what exactly happened? The problem vanished. When the problem vanished, all these companies will or are having existential crisis. They're not able to understand exactly how to survive. So the most important thing I tell you one thing very frankly that आप लोग को जब ये बोला जाता है that like Shark Tank, you have to always have a business model, understand an idea, then idea will become successful tomorrow. No idea becomes successful. The only thing which is real is problem. So the first foremost thing you need to understand is, are you really aligned, understood what is a problem? If your problem is legitimate, you understood it, and you can tackle it, your startup will always be successful. But at the same time, if you are not focusing on the problem and rest you're doing all those things which has no meaning, there's actually no meaning after that. Okay. So the first thing which I want to tell you is first is to have concise, accurate problem. Once the problem is done, I think you have won half of the battle. Okay. So once a problem is diagnosed, the second important thing in innovation is to understand exactly how these problems can be sorted out. Okay. Finding of solution of a problem is only to make sure that the problem slightly goes away. Okay. Creating an experience out of it, that is, you're creating a product which is creating experience out of it. That phenomenon is the startup phenomenon. In a sense, your idea, when you're converting into an organization where your idea is going to be an experience for the consumer, that becomes startup. So what is the technical meaning of startup? A kind of model which was not done before, and they want to scale up. Okay, that's exactly what startup is. Startups are generally innovative in nature because they are coming with a new product in the market. And that's why generally they are innovative in nature. So what is now again coming to the point? What is then innovation? Innovation is not high-tech invention. Okay. Innovation is a solution came from a very affordable way, which was never thought before. That's exactly what innovation is. And that's the reason if I want to tell you that most of you who wants to become startup owners and everything, make sure you keep this in mind that innovation is all about making sure that the consumer gets more and better experience, which was never done before. And for that, you have to always focus on cost. Okay. And to get the best experience, you have to address what you call the problem. Okay. So that's the point of what exactly problem is. Because once your problem is diagnosed well, then comes the execution part. Okay. So how to execute it? That's where incubation comes in. So in IILM, if you look at it, we have an incubation center where your ideas, okay, ideas when you're bringing in, we see what the problem is. First of all, we accept the problem. Okay, we realize that there's a problem is really legitimate. We accept your idea. Then we provide you an incubation space where you can nurture your idea with your team. Seriously, that's a very peculiar, very important part of the whole point, that you are able to create an ecosystem of yours where you can build up your startup into a company within the college premises, completely incubated, and you can go to classroom, learn the theories and everything every day, come back to your startup, apply those things, make mistakes, go back to your teachers will correct you, again go back to your startup, make mistakes, learn more, grow more. And that phenomenon which we are giving it to you is what you call as the incubation. So what is the relation between innovation and incubation if you look at it? Innovation is, as I said, a problem which has been solved by a unique way. That's called innovation. Okay, so you have to first of all understand the most important thing around is to identify problem. Your job is not to identify idea. Your job is never to identify idea. Idea comes automatically. But the first and foremost thing is this is the problem. If I'm not correcting my problem well, there is no point. There's really no point by which we can say that we had a great idea. Okay, if you're tackling the right problem, I'm telling you, government, investors, everybody will be following you. So always remember, try to have the best, identify the best problem possible. Okay, the first thing. Second, make sure that you try to find out solutions for that particular problem. Okay, this phenomenon is called innovation. That you are trying to solve this particular problem innovatively or uniquely, which was not done before. Okay, that for example, taxi services. Taxi services were very challenging in India. Then Ola and Uber came. Everything changed. They are diagnosed a problem, right? So you have to make sure that you diagnose the problem really, really well. So that's the second point of it. The first point is, as I said, problem. The second one was the innovation. The third is the incubation. As said, we provide a path to nurture for the students. Okay. So if you take a BBA program or an MBA program, we make sure that the student, as soon as he joins, is able to present their idea. We fine tune those ideas well, give them more training, and then register your startup and then give you an incubation space. I mean, in which you have your small office, you learn everything what exactly been taught in the class, apply for your product. Once you apply for your product, the product nurtures. When the product nurtures, you're actually giving jobs to many people. So that phenomenon is called incubation, right? So that's the whole point. So why all these things are required? Please understand one thing: why you're doing a job. That's the major concept by which this has to be understood. When you're doing a job, the person who is going to be successful is not the most hardworking only. It is also a person who is slightly unique compared to others. That's why he or she gets attention of the owner, right? So in life itself, the same is applicable. That your innovation and innovative approach has to be completely embedded with your philosophy, right? So in incubation, if you look at it, in incubation, the whole point of having incubation is to make sure student not only learn in the classroom but gets an access and exposure to startup ecosystem. You'll be bringing teams within from your class, motivate them, give them incentives, make planning of your product, make a planning in the industry, learn those things from the classroom, apply it in your product or your services, and then you grow. That's exactly the whole point of having an incubation center for us. And that's the so you understood that there's an incubation and there's an innovation. And to understand innovation, there should be a problem. So let me give a nutshell to all of it. That the first thing is you need to have a clear, precise problem in front of you. When the problem is right, perfectly accurate, rest is easy. Second, find out the solution for it. Okay. Make sure the solution is slightly unique compared to others. Okay. That's innovation. And then incubate, meaning is you incubate the whole idea for 1 or 2 years under the protection of the college. Okay. When you nurture your ideas, you will not have employees, but you will have team members. Okay, coming from your school or your college, and all of them together will develop the product which you want to, and that will be presented to the investors. This is exactly is what you call as the whole game of innovation and incubation. Any doubts? Anybody has all the attendance if you have? So no doubts at all. Okay, perfectly fine, perfectly fine. So let me add to the concluding part of it. To understand innovation, you have to understand the problem. Once you understand and diagnose the problem well, you innovate to get the solution. Once you innovate and get the solution, then comes you have to make sure you nurture it to a company. That's why you get incubation in our university, where you're registering your firm with us, in which you becomes the primary shareholder, and then we together develop the first prototype, which the investors really want to see, right? Anybody has a doubt? Anyone? Anyone has any doubts which they want to share with? No. Anything which you want to ask to regarding technology? So one more thing which I want to add to is innovation has become more rapid also because the technologies which are now coming up is more cheaper than before. And because of which it is now slightly easier in terms of developing or enhancing your incubation completely. Sure. Right? Okay. So I think the students, you understood the whole thing. Thank you so much. And if you want to have any doubts, please ask, or you can put the doubts in the LinkedIn.